What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. We are back outside the Kingsland in Brooklyn in the van, and we are here with Steev of Skinlab. Thank you for your time.
Fucking A, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So the newest record, Venomous, is absolutely kick-ass. The first Skinlab record in 10 years. Did you just consider this picking up where you left off after the Scars Between Us, or do you think that this is like a fresh start for Skinlab in a way?
Well, in both ways, yes. We're definitely a new band. Um, However, the same songwriter that's always been here is still here. You know, um, and Snake's still in the band. As far as a fresh start, taking 7 to 11 years off. We were still put these things down. We were still a band. We've always been a band, but we took a little time off to live our life and to watch our kids grow up. And Snake's built a house. We have foundation now that we could come out here and do it for real and concentrate. And what you hear on the album is security. We're pretty we're pretty well established in life now as we're older, and having it's almost like a new beginning because it took so long to write the record and to get a proper release. So yeah, fucking A, man. It was just exciting to be back. We're pretty proud of the damn record, that's for sure. So thank you for the props.
Of course. One thing I was curious about is, does Skinlab have like a sound that you tend to stick with that you try? Like, is there like a usual template that applies to each record, or is there kind of like any experimentation in the sound of Skinlab?
There's always experimentation. I mean, we get influenced by so many different bands in between records, but yeah, there's a sound that we definitely have to have, and I think that's kind of not to take anything away from any of the other guys, past or present, but I mean that's where I come in, and I think that's I I kind of write a core of the music, so a lot of it's going to stay kind of. For one, I'm not the best guitar player in the world, and I just have heavy ideas, that just come from the brain, and like any other member and who's the sole writer of the band, um, when you're able to focus, shit kind of goes down the drain a little faster, and then it tends to be able to be absorbed and swallowed a little easier from the fans and myself as a fan. So um, I think I might have went off kilter there, but
Yeah, it's perfect. And
it's
as
been
a
a while, man. It's been 7, 8, 11 years doing interviews, bro. We got to get back up to par.
Hey, you're starting things off on the worst possible note. One thing I was curious about is I always ask liking vocal assists, because do you need to hear music in order to come up with lyrics, or could there be like a time where like a concept determines the outcome of the music itself?
Well, a lot of the times the music will just come straight to the heads at any given time, or the two aren't connected. But for the most part, every time I write a song, it pretty much has lyrics and with the intention straight from the beginning. Um, from the music that you've learned to hear from Skin Lab, we don't venture too often to crazy land too far from the melodies and everything, and I think they both go parallel.
Could your lyrics be open to interpretation, or do you like a listener to sort of see things from maybe your point of view?
My lyrics are always welcome to interpretation. We like to write open ended. I don't write stories. I tend to write this different phrases, that connect with each other, and individually, phrase by phrase, or part by part, will have meaning to it, which will in turn kind of make a block of, so there's almost like different chapters, throughout the song and throughout the album. The Basically this album, the whole concept was to rise above a lot of grinding, a lot of walking alone. I noticed in the lyrics. I must have felt alone a lot in this album, but I mean, there's a lot of parallels throughout the album that bring everything back to what this whole record is about, and it's about overcoming, obstacles, overcoming all the fucking hate in the world, overcoming every, there's always something in front of you trying to stop you from moving forward and progressing, and I think through lyrics, through music, through our release, out here on tour, hitting the ground, it's all showing that it's there and real. So
Yeah. One thing I was really curious about it, in order to get inspired to write, because I think, you mentioned isolation's a family, but, taking so long between the scars between us and Venomous, like, you mentioned, family and all that stuff. So do you need to put yourself in a certain element in order to get inspired to write, or does inspiration come out of the blue sometimes?
Oh, definitely. I have to. We all have to be in that headspace, to get things going. But there's so much in the world around us, or just amplified every day. Um, myself, I'm becoming pretty desensitized from a lot of stuff around me, and that tends to come off in the aggression and the lyrics and everything. And yeah, definitely, it's the world is what makes me go around. So.
Yeah. So you have to look out. This might be too artistic. I went to art school. Forgive me, but like you look outward in order to come up with inspiration. Is there ever part of you with inside that is expressed in the music or in the lyrics?
Yeah, earlier on in the earlier records, there was a lot of. I have, everyone knows I've got anxiety. It keeps me from doing a lot of things, but it was also a good way to release a lot of the emotions that were trapped inside me. And our earlier records, Revolting Room, where I was probably at the weakest point of my life, between being susceptible to drugs and alcohol. I think I was able to work out some of the emotional things that were inside. Now that I'm older, I'm a little more secure in life. I definitely know who the fuck I am. Um, and I just have I guess, more of an opinion without too much of an opinion. I'm a pretty shy guy, so I don't go blasting my opinion out too many people. But I like to think a lot, and I like to, imagine a lot. This brain's pretty crazy inside, for sure.
This is heavy metal for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So like it's fair to say that every record in the Skinlab catalog is kind of like representative on who you were at that particular time,
Every
right?
space and time, absolutely. Every day at a time. Where the new lyrics are coming from every day we wake up and tie our shoes to the next day. So.
And I have two more questions for you, if that's cool. Most difficult question for every artist I interview. That's why it's my favorite one to ask.
Awesome.
How do you know when a song is done?
Damn, bro. I have a funny story. Okay, so this is probably going to be, So you just never know when it's done. The bottom line is when your producer says it's done, it's done. So having to get Ulrich Wild, which is a huge producer and one of our favorite producers in the world, and now one of our favorite people in the world. We're great friends. There was this thing while we're recording vocals, so he worked my ass off. I have not sang, I've never sang harder in my life to achieve what we achieved in this album. But he didn't push me. He made me wonder, like, was that good? He's like, well, is it? Oh, fuck, so that was on me. It wasn't him telling me to get better. It was like I had to question myself. So we got to a certain point where he was like, okay, we'd run through it and I'd fucking do my vocals and it would get to track 20. And he was like, okay, that's the one to beat. So when you get to that point, I still had 20 more to go. So I was like, damn, when is this song ever going to be done? Not until the producer says it is.
I've always said the producer is the fifth Beatle, the sixth Beatle. If you're in Slipknot, the 11th Beatle.
Absolutely. So. If you let him, why hire a producer if you don't need him? Open your mind. And we were very fortunate that it was a two-way highway. God, can I speak today? We were very fortunate that Ulrich was able to just really dive into our music and work with us. And Venomous is, five guys, or six guys, excuse me. Yeah, we killed it.
Yep. And the final question I wanted to ask you, the last time I saw you live was at the St. Vitus with Ikilia and Product of Hate. Great time. Yeah. And even though I've listened to you for years, I've thought it was a very different experience seeing you live versus simply listening to you. Yes, but for you, when you're playing live, is there maybe a similar energy that you channel into playing live as you do when you're songwriting, or is it two separate arts altogether?
Slayer. That's all I could say. I think I'm Tom Araya up there. It's when the lights go on, it's a whole other thing. I'm normal Steve out in the street, nice guy, but when the lights go on, it's just a whole other demon. And I don't know any other way but to say it. It's it's the Phil Anselmo in me, it's the Tom Araya in me, it's some fucking Rob Flynn in me. It's
great inspirations.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I thought since like the music is like representative of a certain hardship or something like that, if maybe like playing that live kind of maybe put you back in that mindset in a way.
No, I don't travel back in time. That's just a rule in my head. But I get sentimental. There's some moments that remind me of some of the songs. I mean, they're just true life. So, when I get to the part in Second Skin, it's about my best friend leaving the band. Every time I think about it, it's like fucking he's not with me. But the pirate ship carries on. I'm gonna fucking cry. I'm gonna get angry and dig my claws on this fucking stage and kill it.
Yeah. Use the pain as your armor, not your anchor.
That's right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So before we go, again, thank you so much for your time today. Is there just anything else with Skinlab you would like to promote in terms of tours after this tour with King 810? This will be uploaded by midnight, so if it hasn't been announced, don't say it here.
No. We're just very grateful to be back. This tour has been. This is only the third show of the King 810 tour. We just got off with Bleed the Sky, and the fans came out to see us. Everyone's remembering who we are. Seems that everyone's taking a nice reaction to Venomous. If you want to see us with your favorite bands, we're saying this every time. We're fans of all of our friends. It's been great being on the sidelines, but if you want to see us, with Slipknot, Machine Head, Nails, make some noise. Let's get us out there, man. We want to do it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you very much, brother.
Everybody, Steev of Skinlab, Venomous. Pick that up while supplies last forever. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We'll see you next time.
Yes, sir.